Okay, let's get started, and people will continue to join us as we go. So first, hello and welcome everyone. I'm very glad you can join us today. I'm Mark Takash, and along with Monica Chavez and Melissa Griswold, we are the IPM team at MCC. I hope you will want to know more about IPM and how it helps MCC and MCA teams deliver compact projects. And you can do that by following the link that will be placed in the chat near the end of the session. Please also know that as a part of the session, or a part of the session will be in French. We have interpretation available, so please check either the French or English channel at the bottom of your screen and stay with that channel. This session is recorded and will be available later in both languages, depending on my tech skills. Today's agenda will include my introduction to our guest speaker, opening remarks by the Director General of MCA-Niger, Mr. Anu, followed by a presentation and a facilitated question and answer session. So it's my pleasure to continue this Lunch and Learn series on project management support to MCAs. Today, we'll be hearing both the lessons learned and considerations in planning for this type of support through the Niger experience. I believe our best learning and information sharing comes directly from our MCA partners. Mr. Camille Agali is our guest speaker. Mr. Agali is the MCA program manager within the Director General's office. He has over 10 years of experience with project management offices starting in the telecoms field. He is a certified PMP, Prince 2 practitioner, P3O, which stands for Portfolio Program and Project Office, and finally a certified practitioner in PMOs. Camille is deeply involved in these communities, serving as a judge to the PMO Global Awards year after year, and now standing up the PMI chapter in Niamey. So we're in good hands today. Now, I'd like to turn over our attention to the MCA Niger Director General, Mr. Anu. Welcome, sir. The floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to MCA-Niger. Glad to have you today. Since we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to be short in my introductory remark, just to welcome you again to MCA-Niger and tell you briefly that we are in our almost 5th year, over a total of 6 years. So we have a lot of lessons learned. We learn the hard way, we learn the good way also. So welcome again. I'm going to pass the floor to Mr. Camille Agali.
Merci DG, merci Marc.
Thank you DG, thank you Mark, thank you Monica. As Mark said, I'm going to do the presentation in French. So I will share my screen. Yeah, please confirm if you can see my screen, my presentation.
Oui, on le voit.
Yes, we can see it. So first of all, I wanted to thank the IPM team and MCC for their excellent opportunity for us at MCA to try to exchange about the challenges and the lessons that we see every day, and to share also our experience. That is something that I appreciated and encouraged that right on the onset by building my presentation with the support of the MCA members, Monica and Mark. So without further ado, I will now go to the slides. There are not that many of them. And so to leave a lot of room for the discussion and the exchange, which is, I think, the most important thing. So the agenda, as Mark said, we heard a word about the DG, the CEO. Then I will give you an overview of the MCA-Niger Compact. And following that, is going to be mostly an overview of the PMC and the services that they offer, the consultant from MCC. And the last thing, the lessons learned And after that, we'll go to the discussion and Q&A session. So please do not hesitate to interrupt me if you have remarks or comments, questions. I will happy to address them. So, introduction of the MCA-Niger Compact. It came into effect on January 26, 2018, with a budget really quite substantial for 437 million US dollars. So it's significant for Nigeria. It's the biggest development project. The initial duration was 5 years, but then we had one additional year that was granted exceptionally because of the COVID-19 impact. Overall, the Compact Niger has one project that have sub-programs. The first one is the irrigation and access to market, which is mostly irrigation projects and also roads. The second one, the climate resilient communities, where we have projects for irrigation and land occupation, and also some cattle raising. So 4 intervention areas out of 8 in Niger. They are mentioned on the slide here: Tilaberi, Dosso, Tawala, and Maradi. Still, in the an overview of the compact, this slide, I just wanted to show the complexity of the compact. That's of course the same thing for all of the compacts, with a challenge for MCA and MCC, but it has. I can mention first of all the surface area that is huge. The intervention area for the project, it's about 300 square kilometers. So it's a lot of areas. It's a lot more than in some compacts. We have 46 cities. We had to manage issues for security and site access. And for the beneficiaries, we'll have about 4 million beneficiaries out of 20 million inhabitants in Niger. We had to build 313 kilometers of roads, some of them already done, 3,100 hectares of irrigated perimeters, more than 500 contracts, awards that we have to manage, 4 institutional reforms, so public reforms, this 17 livestock markets, and 865 kilometers of animal corridors. And we also have 70,000 hectares of land reclamation. And so, not to be too long, also, finally, we have to rehabilitate 110,000 hectares of degraded land. So that gives you an idea of the ambition of this program and also the complexity of it. So all this has to be managed in 5 years. So very quickly, I just wanted to show that I just wanted the PMC here, because MCC identified that we have 3 types of PMO, the support PMO, the control PMO, and another PMO. The PMC, the project management consultant, is identified as a support PMO. And here for MCA-Niger, the organization of the PMO and PMC that we have, it's in fact divided in 3. We have a PMO compact that supports the operations and the strategic direction of the program, and 3 sectorial PMOs that for PMO irrigation for all the irrigation activities, PMO roads that supports the road activities, and the PMO CRC that supports entirely the project 2, which is climate resilient communities. So we can see the services now, the various services that are offered by this PMO. 1 is document management. 2, we have planning. 3, we have the reporting. 4, we have the reporting, but also control system. 5, we have the management of the stakeholders, and 6, the risk management. So this PMC has a wide arsenal of diversified services, and they are really useful in what we are learning. This slide shows really the evolution of the PMC since the beginning of the compact. And so we're going to see now what happens with the lessons that are learned. As of today, we have over 8 amendments. There's a 9th one and a 10th one that are ongoing. They're signed for the PMC contract. These adjustments are done to address the various services that the PMC offers in response to increased needs and new needs that have been identified. And it's very often accompanied with an increase or a moving around of the budget. So when you see the timeline here, in fact, the PMC contract starts in 2017, which is the development phase for the compact. So the contract was signed in 2017, and there was already the first amendment. And in 2018, there was, and 2019, for amendment number 3, and there are 8 amendments came later. So the PMC goes beyond the closing of the compact, which is in 2024, because the PMC has to support. The idea here, when I see the different amendments, is that we have a general idea of what we wanted as support, but as things were going, we tried to tailor the different services with respect to the challenges that we encountered. The last slide, and I will talk about it. So considering the slides that are already presented, so each MCA has to spend enough time to really select the right PMO that is needed based on the maturity of the project. What do I mean by that? Considering that MCA, especially in Niger, that was our first experience with MCC, our maturity level is really low. So I think with hindsight, we could change the type of PMC, and that's what we show here. So from the beginning of with all the amendments that were done, we try to give a little more control to the organization that is a little more mature, to really try to help the accomplishment of the task. So the PMC that we identified at the beginning, we were trying to have a little more support because of the type of PMC that we're having. And from our experience, also, there are others like, so for example, selecting the type of PMO doesn't really have an impact. It's really the services. So we have to spend enough time, we have to invest enough time to really define the type of support and the type of PMO that you need. And that's really the most important thing. So second lesson that we learned here in Niger, we saw that we, like any new organization, we lost a lot of time in managing paperwork. What we see here, that we have enough budget, we have enough resources, but the time is really limited. 5 years, that's even in spite of an additional year, we have activities that are really time consuming. And you don't want to waste that time in procedures like the mission management. That's something that has been very time consuming. And same thing, everything that is admin and HR and this kind of thing. So in view of this organization, it's really something that is very important to gain time if you have a tool that automates all these procedures and systems. Third lesson learned, we saw that the contract with MCA, the contract modification procedures take a lot of time. And in fact, we need very often support. And considering the type of contract, it doesn't give us any margin. So we always try to have some kind of a margin in the contract so we can have quick responses. It really allows us to have timely support and with a reduced time and responses that are not necessarily not always necessary in time, but organization is important. The fourth lesson, I don't know if there are questions, but do you prefer that we go through and then we go to questions, Mark?
You know, I like what you're doing. If you just want to go a little bit further and keep going a little bit, and then we can get to questions.
Okay, go ahead. La quatrième leçon, c'est
So the fourth lesson, we noticed that the profile of the managers that we are looking for, we need more than project managers and experts. So this is already done with the PMO, but it is better to involve them with recruiting managers. So we really need to have project managers because we had lots of concerns in the project management aspect, especially contract management. And we have to ensure that the PMO has more experience and can mobilize more expertise in the management and recruitment and mostly the definition of the types of positions. And that's really a very valuable asset.
Number 5, which is connected to number 4, the fifth lesson is that we noticed today in terms of lessons learned that we were preoccupied about the contract management. There were so many contracts that were a little bit difficult, and we took all the time to look at it despite the different amendments that you've seen before at the level of the PMC, and despite all of the tools that were developed. So far, we found ourselves.
The translators need to switch our channels because now the French is speaking English.
No, it is in English.
Okay. Sorry, thank you.
No, sure. So would I start over or I can resume from the lesson 5?
Please continue.
Okay. So the fifth lesson is on contract management. We have faced many issues on contract management, on contract expiring or contract. We are running out of time, always trying to renew the contract close to the end close to the end. So I said, despite the amendment, the 8th amendment that we have done to the PMC, the tools that have been developed, we still face, maybe we have reduced, but we still face this kind of issue. So we can say that the PMC here, as its role is just support, it's not controlling. If you need more control on this kind of issue for contract management, contract are not expiring because it was a big issue here. Maybe your type of the PMO should be a PMO that have more control in order not to face this kind of issue. The next one is as the PMC has a broader scope of work, it's really important to have a clear KPI to ensure that you can have this KPI to follow the stated the scope. Because if you say, for example, for the PMC, just to support, if you want to evaluate, you need clear KPI in order to evaluate if these services are offered or not. It's important for us, if really you want to evaluate the performance of the PMC, to include some clear scope, to clear KPI in the scope, and it will make the follow of the performance of the PMC easier. 7 lesson learned is, this one is coming as often is the training. You have to train because it's a new organization here. The PMO has to train enough the staff in project management and tools that has been developed by either the PMC or the organization itself. It's people have to take into account what's really project management. It's really different from business as usual. You have some constraints that you have to take into account as time, budgeting, and you have to follow the process also. Last one is on documentations. We have exchange with other MCA which has faced some issue on documentation. Here, the documentation issue has been taken into account because the PMC, one is of its services is documentation management. They develop a SharePoint, the codification is okay, but I think the awareness should be more important. It's maybe strange to start talking about documentation or closing since the beginning of the compact, but it's something really important. We haven't faced major issue on documentation, but the one that we are facing now is the I don't know, I'm looking for the right word, the exigence. Looking for the mark. Could you help me? Exigence in French. The requirements. Sorry, the requirements.
If you want, you can just continue in French.
I have just lost my word. The requirement.
Okay.
The requirement for MCA to keep the documentation for 5 years. So for now, the issue that we're facing here, MCA-Niger, so the documentation is okay, the codification is okay, but now we have to find the right place, the right building to store the documentation post-compact to fulfill the obligation of 5-year storage for this documentations. And we, as a listener, we said that this could be done really earlier in order to not to face these things very important, and to share or to train people the importance of documentation here in MCC and MCC Compact and MC. So I think I came to the last one. There are some that maybe we can discuss. I think DG have one or two, but we can discuss this lesson learned on the questions and discussion that we are going to open now. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Camille. Appreciate the presentation. I'm going to turn it over to the chat because we have some excellent questions that are starting to pour in, starting with the first one, Camille. It's from Karine, MCA Benin, speaking about the type of PMO and how it doesn't necessarily align with MCC procedures. I wonder if we could have Karine unmute and restate the question. If you are able.
I didn't hear the question. You are breaking. Maybe it's the link to my internet connection. I don't know. Can you repeat again the questions?
Sure. I was asking, I wonder if we could have MCA Benin's Karine unmute to ask the question about the type of PMO not aligning with MCC procedures.
Try to. It's
Monica, could you please post the
I'm
question if it's written, so everybody can read the question?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Look it up in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, it's here.
Mark, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got it.
Yes, you're coming through clear.
Yeah, it's, Karim from MCA-Benin. Yes. Okay, so how do you want to proceed? I directly answer the question one by one, or we go through
Yes.
all the questions and respond?
I think
Camille,
if we can
maybe
go
you can start
one
with
by
the
one.
first one. First with Karine in Benin. I don't know if it's okay with Monica.
Yes, of course. I think that's a good suggestion.
I'm switching my internet connection. Maybe I will have. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So the first question is not obvious that we choose the type of PMOs. Is that right, Karin? Because of the MCC procedure.
Karin, are you still with us by any chance? Okay, maybe not. If it's not clear, Camille, we can move to the next question.
Yeah, I can try to give maybe an overview. Someone can add me, can complete if you want. But we move to the next question.
Camille, we can't hear you. I think you have a connection issue.
Oh, and now?
Yes, we can hear you.
A little bit better, yeah.
Okay.
Camille, maybe we can go ahead and prioritize the ones that are raising their hand. So we have Mr. Youssef, the PMO from Morocco, who has his hand raised.
Okay.
Go ahead, Youssef.
Bonjour, bonjour tout le monde.
Good morning. Yes, can you hear me? We can hear you. Thank you very much, Mr. Camille, for this presentation. It was clear and pertinent. I just have a question pertaining to the delay and the experience that was lived. Is the choice to adopt a PMC contract with different amendments? There were, as you said, there were several amendments to adjust the PMC to reality and the needs of the compact. Do you think that with a little bit of consideration, there is a need for creation of a structure at MCA-Niger and have your own team with a manager and people in charge of planning? Do you think that with considering all what happened, this could resolve some existing issues? I can go to the second question that you can. I will wait for your reply to the first question. I think I will present. I will give you my opinion, and at the level of MCA, we have things are a little bit complicated. The first thing is to look at the needs. We needed to look at existing needs. The advice and support were very important, but I think that we needed sometimes to have a good command of things, and this is the reason why we've tried to adopt different PMCs. Absolutely. If there was maybe an internal PMO, maybe things would have been easier and we would have attained the results that we needed. There is another issue, on the other hand, the quality of staff. We wanted to have someone at MCA level that would be more attractive, but I completely agree with you after considering looking at things. I think we needed more support. These are the lessons that we learn when we progress in the contract. I don't know if this really answered your question, but this is what I had to say. Yes, it's very clear. Thank you so much. I ask these questions because Morocco adopted for this option to adopt its own payment structure its own personnel. Yes, sir, when you talked about rectifying the contract and when you talked about the amendments that were brought to adjust the offer services, I felt the level of frustration that you went through, because for us it was more flowing to respond to the needs of the Direction Générale, General Management of MCC, because we didn't need to make any amendments. It was just between us. We tried to look at the needs and adjust and make the necessary adjustments. So you talked about payments pertaining to managers. I did not really understand what you said. Are these resources pertaining to PMC, or were they allocated to MCA? So how are they dispatched at the level of different projects, especially when you mentioned that point? Could you clarify? Thank you. Speaking about organization of PMC, right? That's what you meant? Yes, absolutely. Before, we've amended the organization a little bit, and we try to look at the direction as split it into, so we have like a project direction 1, 2, and 3. So we split our directions, and with this classification, we have like a PMO. We had a PMO practically for every project, and it was done transversally, but the payment regarding irrigation was pertaining to project 1. Then we had the road PMO that were under the direction of project number 1, and then a PMO project that was supporting the directive project manager 2. Then we have the PMO compact, so that was handling the coordination between different PMOs, but it was providing strategic support to the programs. And we had so the organization chart of PMC itself was there, but then there was another integrated PMO. So we had MCA that we called the politicized organization chart that handled the resources, the documents, that was under the manager of the project and was reporting to the director of the project. I don't know if I provided you with the clear answer to your question, but yes, perfect. It was very clear. One last question, and it's my last question, I promise. Types of indicators that you based yourself on to ensure the follow-up and to see if we were advancing the right way or not. Let me give you an example. So infrastructure projects, for example, did you rely on the planning, or what type of indicators did you use to ensure that the follow-up was smooth and right? We have a team in charge of planning, and we had percentages that were calculated, but then we had the acquired value that we relied on, and that provided us with the acquired value regarding the road project. So we had the acquired value, and then we had the physical progress that came out of the planning that was provided by the work engineers. So it's more about the acquired value that we relied on. It was the indicator, because the progress was provided by the engineer for road projects, etc. Thank you very much, Mr. Camille. I have so many questions, but I'd like to give the floor to others. I don't want to control the discussion. We can continue because this is the objective of this meeting, to exchange feedback. I think I'd like my colleagues to ask some questions, and if there is a little bit of time remaining, I promise I'll ask more questions. Thank you very much. Thank you once more, Camille.
Youssef.
Thank you very much, Youssef. Now we have Farhat.
Do I do it in English or in French?
Would you like me to ask the question in English or in French? It's up to you guys. When we talk about office structures of project programs, what is important is the reference. We've adopted the internationally reputed model. It's a British model that was created to reorienting existing office. They start from the principle that there are no types of PMOs. There are services, required services, case by case.
Programme ou chaque projet, on doit voir quelle est la nécessité.
We need to look at the needs, the existing needs. And at MCA-Niger, we've had two necessities. So we've had like requirements in terms of projects and programs. And then on the other hand, we needed technical assistance that was functional and operational. So we were not only doing project management, but we were dealing with engineers, experts, and installations, and communication, and human resources. And Camille talked also as well about assignments. So even the administrative part was given importance. So we've conducted several amendments, and this does not mean that things were not going well. On the contrary, that means that things were flexible and that things were flexible enough to produce adjustments and amendments. So we learn with the process. We learn as long as we're progressing. And we have to prioritize. We thought it was necessary to prioritize depending on the existing needs.
And the other thing that Camille said for the contractor, that's a thing that needs to be improved, because the MCA manager that was recruited were technicians. They were not really able to manage contracts at the provider level. So that is something that we have to strengthen. It's true that we gave trainings, contract trainings, we gave training in project management. We certified 32 managers and directors, including the Mr. General Director was certified. So in terms of project management training, we really made a lot of progress, but perhaps we should already recruit people that have contract management skills, or as just strengthen their capacities in contract management. That's really something that I think is really important. Regarding the first question that was raised by our colleague from Benin, in fact, there is no restriction at the MCC level regarding the type of PMC that we can adopt. There are different types. For example, in Côte d'Ivoire, they don't have PMC. They have internal consultants that do the service. The interpreter apologizes, but it is impossible to hear with the noise on the line right now. Should I continue or should I stop? I think some microphones are open that should not be.
Go ahead,
I think
Monica.
you can continue. They seem to
No,
have muted.
I don't want to monopolize. No, I don't want to monopolize the floor. So back to you.
Thank you, Farhad. Back to Camille. Do you have any input on his statements?
Yeah, I think the only question, la question de Karine, justement, je voulais rajouter dessus.
So Karin's question, I wanted to add on that. So what we have here, we have lessons learned that are really, this is what we lived and what we want to share. But also start a discussion regarding the problems that we had. So the idea is can we do, with hindsight, can we do exchanges differently? Now, regarding the choice of the PMO for procedures, if there are procedures that need to be changed, so we have to maybe escalate into the information to the people who are developing the program so that MCC can take that into account. If they can change, if the procedure can be changed, good, that's a good thing. But now, for the choice of PMO, you have to take time, enough time to really choose properly. So because some have a services approach and others have a different type of approach. But at the beginning, you have to take enough time to get the right experts, either the services or the types of PMOs that you need to avoid as we go to do all these amendments. It's true that these amendments can be necessary as the program evolves, but some amendments could be avoided if we choose the right types of services. So I don't know if I answered your question, Camille, but that's what I wanted to say. That is the lesson learned.
Thank you very much for that. Maybe we can move to Donato.
Oui, merci beaucoup. Merci,
yes,
Camille.
thank you very much. Thank you, Camille, for the presentation. I think it's very useful to reflect on the lessons learned. So I am part of the PMO here at MCA-Niger. I just wanted to clarify two things. The first one, of course, it was said by Farad already, but so the number of amendments that were done, it doesn't mean each time that it was a failure. It was also really to renew our contract, because our contract, it was a 12-month contract. The other thing that I wanted to say regarding the first lesson learned about the choice of the PMO, in my opinion, it's difficult at the beginning to define the maturity of an organization. The maturity of organization, you can have maybe, you can see it as you go. It's not at the very beginning that you can know the maturity of an organization. What I would suggest is that maybe I would say that you have to have a flexible contract. The first thing, in my opinion, is to see if you want to internal or external PMO. That's the first thing. That's MCA has to decide that. After that, if you have an external PMO or an internal PMO, you have to have flexibility in the contract to allow you to change some things as we go, even if you have to make amendments. But all this has to be like an initial contract, initial services PMO, redirects based on the maturity of organization. Because to choose at the beginning is very difficult to say, okay, we're going to take a control PMO or another type of PMO. So that's what I wanted to say as a suggestion. That's Camille, I don't know what you think about that. Go ahead, you have the floor. Yes. I think if we can start with that. That's really the most important thing. That's why I put that as a first lesson learned. The idea, since we have an organization that we have to put in place, and we have lessons learned here in Niger, and we have a compact here, and we have an organization that is getting mature because it's being put in place. So with hindsight, again, with hindsight, I think an organization that had more control, or maybe that would change things. Now, how are we going to do it? That's the discussion. I think that's the lesson learned, to invite everybody to say, how can we do things differently? But at least together we can agree on this point. I mean, can we do something at the beginning? Can we see what we need in terms of support? Because the PMC was there during the development phase, and I think it worked well. But now, with the implementation, maybe with hindsight, maybe we should have had more control because the organization is not mature yet. We're still looking for people. They're not in place. The whole structure is not there. So these are the questions. And in my opinion, I thought we could have had a structure that had more control, that we would have had better results.
Thank you, Camille. And I see that Deje Anu's hand was raised, but then it was lowered. I don't know if Deje Anu, you wanted to say anything.
Yeah, I wanted actually to ask you, while you are monitoring the time, I let you make the decision when you think I should say something on all this, because there are some overall observations that could be useful for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anu. I actually think now might be a fantastic time. We've heard quite a bit from different folks. So I think now would be a great time to hear from your perspective as well.
Okay, merci à tout le monde. Merci à Camille qui a fait une très
Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you, Camille, for your presentation. And thanks to all the participants for asking very good questions that will also help us. What we can say with hindsight, it's easier to connect dots now than at the beginning. Now, when you look in your rearview mirror, you can see that there's a number of things that we could have done differently. The main observation for us is that perfection is the enemy of good. You really have to find the point of equilibrium. Of course, you would like all the compacts to be perfect, 100% execution without any flaw. But it takes time. It costs time, and time is the rarest resource that we have. We don't have any budgetary constraints. We have all the money that we need, but the time is another story. So at a certain point, in applying the procedures, for example, validation procedures, the deliverables, at some point you have to say, okay, that's good enough, we can move forward. We can move to the next deliverable. Now, how do you do this determination? It is not necessarily up to the PMO, it's not necessarily the role of the PMO, the role of only one stakeholder. And you have to see all the actors that are in the compact, neither the MCA nor the MCC. The dialogue is very important. So to have put together a permanent information system is really important. That's a lesson that could be useful for all the compacts. The second big lesson is that the Niger compact is very different. So each compact in a country is different. No two compacts are alike, but it's difficult to generalize. So there is no one-stop shop. And when you design the compact at the same time, you have to think about the organization of the services. And this reflection have to be done. So when we did the compact, we had enough reflections about the type of organization that we wanted. But it's not after you sign, after the signature, it's not after the prerequisites are met that you have to say, okay, now what are we going to do? Who is going to implement this program? So these two reflections have to be conducted simultaneously, concurrently, so that all the great decisions are taken concurrently. So the third lesson for us is that the solutions or programs of the compact type solutions or programs have to be tailored based on the country. the countries don't offer necessarily the same system in terms of providers, and the compacts are programs that are implemented not directly by MCA, by the consultants and the businesses that do the work. So when and two countries don't have the same weight, don't have the same level of attractiveness for businesses and consultants. So first, already you have to work with businesses and consultants in the country. They don't have all the same quality. And also to attract businesses internationally, there's also the country is a determining factor. And finally, you have the entire international environment in which we operate today. We were really impacted by the COVID situation, and more particularly in Niger, we have been impacted by a security situation, security in the country and regional security. So all these factors can really fuel the reflection for the current contract, but mostly for future compacts. So in brief, in summary, that's what I wanted to add to Camille's very good presentation and to the great discussion that we had together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anu. Really appreciate your comments. I don't know if Camille, you have anything else to say, but I also note that there are some MCC country team members for Niger that have joined us in case there's any additional input. Any other questions? Okay, maybe just one final question that was sent to me directly regarding how MCA can better integrate the PMC in their processes. So how can we ensure roles and responsibilities are clear and that the integration is happening at the right place between MCA and the PMC? Over to you, Camille. Did we lose Camille?
He may be muted. Camille may be muted.
May I answer this question?
Farad, je commence, tu complètes.
Oh, I will start, and you can complete it. But
maybe he's not going to be sufficient. Is if you have a clear RACI, we can show how and when the PMC is responsible for kind of action. So it's to make sure to develop a clear RACI for that. And to be integrated is, I think, for the communications, try to involve as much as possible the PMC in every level of information. This my two answers here. Farad, if you wanna add something, go ahead.
I would like to complete what you said. I agree totally with the RACI. I think that you have to clearly define what is the role and responsibilities of a PMC. If they are accountable for the results or not, how much risk they share with the MCA entity, and how they should be interact with this stakeholder, because it depends on the level of maturity of the managers and the directors of the MCAs, how to be, I would say, orient or demand services from the PMC. It's a give and take. So you have to understand exactly what are the requirements of your stakeholder are to be able to add value. That comes back to what I was saying. It depends on the roles and responsibilities that you give to the PMC, and it has to be measurable. From the very beginning, we adopted a model here. It's called Pre-3M3. It's a maturity model, which is for the program, portfolio program and projects. We applied it for the program and projects level, and we decided to do it frequently. So we did 3 assessments of the maturity. What we have seen in the last one was that the levels of the tools and procedures were adopted, but they were not totally absorbed by the people. In other words, they know, but they don't do it on everyday basis. It didn't go to their DNA. It didn't enter their bloodstream. It didn't become intuitive for them to do it. So that's one of the lessons learned here, is that it's not enough just to train the people. It's not enough to have a dashboard, but you have to use the dashboard. We have statistics of using our dashboard here. Some of the directors and managers use it frequently, and some, they don't use it at all. So the level of maturity is also uneven inside the same organization. So this is another lessons learned that I would like to add. Concerning the MCC, MCC has a very good IPM, integrated project management model. And I was amazed because the first time that I came here to MCA-Niger, I came as a consultant exactly to do the maturity assessment. And I was amazed with the consistency of the MCC compact model. The MCC compact model, especially with the conditions precedents and all the controls that are in place, is a very, I would say, best-in-class project management model using the best references in the world. So I don't think that there is much to do on the methodology side. Perhaps on the implementation side of the model has to be worked with. As Mr. Anu said, no compact is equal to the other one. So in all of them, we have to tailor. So the tailoring is the key, I think. Back to you.
Merci,
Thank you.
Farad. Il y a d'autres questions, je pense.
There are other questions, I think.
Thank you very much, Camille, and thank you very much, UNOPS, DG, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for participating. I think at this point we are going to wrap up, but I realize that there are some questions that maybe were not answered, that were left unanswered, and so please reach out to us, and we'll make sure to put you in touch with with Camille or anybody else, depending on what you might need. And Mark has shared a link on the chat if anybody wants additional information regarding IPM and the resources that are available to MCC and MCS staff.